you're considering the Ozito electric range, which includes the 300mm lawnmower and also the edger or trimmer that comes with it. Now, I'm assuming that you're worried that all of this is just too good to be true. I mean, you're essentially getting a product that can deliver the exact same service except without any of the headaches. For example, how frustrating is it when your mower won't start and you have to try and figure out, is it the spark plug? Is the carburetor clogged? Has the fuel gotten too old? Are there broken gears on the clutch? Or did I not open the choke or the fuel levels enough to the appropriate level? And then on top of that as well, you kind of have to plan ahead and you have to speculate whether you have enough unleaded fuel in the jerry can. Is this going to be enough to complete your entire yard? And if you get too much, or then it'll sit in the jerry can for too long and become too old and then basically turn into useless fuel. And furthermore to all this electric lawnmower runs at a volume that's quite comparable to a vacuum cleaner as opposed to the traditional lawnmower sound that we're used to. And so, is all of this too good to be true? Well, first up, I'll say that the Ozito lawn care range has never failed me. They've started first time every time without the need for me to do a very in-depth troubleshooting process. And so, how does it work and how many amp hours of batteries will I need in order to cover a certain amount of yard? So today I'm going to use 3 lots of 3 amp hour batteries and 2 4 amp hour batteries. But that is all far more than what I actually need because I actually cycle these batteries in with my drills and everything back here as well. So in the backyard, I'll be demonstrating how this lawnmower performs under traditional Sawalter grass, which most Aussie backyards have. And then on the front yard, I'll be testing it on this really thick plush grass that's honestly softer than a mattress. And so for the backyard being the normal standard grass, you can actually set the mower to its lowest height. And you can do this by disconnecting the battery or disconnecting the safety key just so you won't accidentally start the mower while you're doing this, and then you can move the wheels across these notches. If you put it up to the highest notch, you have to bear in mind that this mower is upside down, so if you put it up to the highest one, that's going to make the mower lower to the ground and cut grass the shortest. And now, once you've done that, you put the battery in, you check that the safety key is actually put in properly, and then it's just a simple process where you press the red button and squeeze the trigger at the same time. And after you've pressed the red button, you can release it, and you just have to help keep that trigger squeezed. But if you were to release that trigger, the mower will stop. This is an inbuilt safety feature. But then to start it again, all you have to do is do that process again, just press the red button and squeeze the black trigger again. And then you're back to business. And so, as you can see, it's all going pretty smoothly here. Now, you may notice that I'm pretty heavy on the PPE, and with the long clothing and the big hat and the gloves, this is more as a sun protection measure as opposed to a protective measure against the mowers themselves. However, you probably noticed that I'm wearing earmuffs here as well. And the earmuffs actually are pretty important because although this mower, or any mower for that matter, operates at a level where it won't do any immediate hearing damage, prolonged exposure to this level of volume will actually do hearing damage. And so, anyway, as you can continue to see, the mower is performing without any major issues. However, what if I were to take this into the front yard where I now come across the special grass that is as soft as a mattress? Well, the mower did actually struggle a little bit here, but there is a little bit of a workaround for this. And so the first workaround is that with this type of grass, you actually do not want to be cutting it too short. And so you set the mower to the highest height, so basically the opposite of what I've done before. So when the mower is upside down, it'll be on the first notch for all the wheels. And so that way you get the maximum height for your mower. And this would do the trick for most difficult lawns, or even if you have Sawalter grass that you've just neglected for 2 months and you're trying to cut that down, this will usually do the job as well. But upon taking this to the maximum height and then mowing along, I found this mower actually did struggle. And this brings me to pretty much my only criticism of this Ozito mower. And it's a very simple thing and you can actually overcome it. And so I can't get the mower to be high enough to cut this type of grass. Now, as you can see here from the end result, that I do actually have a little bit of a brown patch, and that is a sign that I've actually cut this grass too short, and that is with the mower at the highest setting. And so with this mower needing to be a little bit higher, I've found a bit of a trick where what you can do is, instead of pushing the mower, you drag the mower and you lift it up slightly, and you can kind of feel it. You can feel the level of resistance as you're lifting the mower up and down, and then you can kind of find that appropriate resistance level of the grass and then just drag it along like so. And as you can see from the end result here, it's exactly the same as what it would have been if I'd mowed it normally. I'm just giving the mower a little bit more height so it's actually got a fighting chance of cutting through that grass. And I know for those of you that are used to petrol mowers, you'd be thinking, oh, you'd have to be pretty strong and fit to be able to do it for such a large yard. Well, this is actually another benefit of an electric mower, is that they pretty much weigh nothing, and you don't have to be that strong to be able to lift it up slightly. And so with using this little trick, you can actually get through the entire lawn. And so, circling back to my main point, is this Ozito mower likely to work on your lawn? Well, the short answer is yes. And if you have a very thick or troublesome type of grass, the longer answer is probably, but you may need to lift it a little bit, or you may need to consider the 370mm version as opposed to the 300mm version that uses 2 batteries at the same time and has a bit more power behind it. And also I should point out as well that on this type of grass, many petrol mowers struggle as well. Now, for battery rotation, if you're living in suburbia and you have just a standard size yard, you'll probably find that a single 3 or 4 amp hour battery would get you through the project. However, if you have both a front yard and a backyard, or you have a considerably larger yard because you live in a more of a rural area, you may actually need to get a few of these. And with that, you can have a battery rotational system as well, where what I've done here is that I have a system where I use my smallest battery first, and then as soon as I've depleted it, I go straight into my shed and then put it on the charger. And then that way my first battery is charging by the time I start using my second battery. I get through my second battery, put that on a charger, then I use the third battery and start using, then by the time I get through my third battery, the first battery has completed charging. So with just 3 lots of 3 amp hour batteries, you can theoretically mow lawns indefinitely just so long as you're constantly rotating the batteries around. And so that is a system that I use, and the only reason that I personally have 5 batteries is just because I've bought these tools over many years, and when I bought some of the tools they came with batteries with them, and that's just how many I've ended up with. And so that covers the mower, but what about the edger or the lawn trimmer or the whippersnipper or whatever you want to call it? Well, this is actually a lot more simple than the mower. You don't need to do any tricks here to use it on any type of grass, and it just works, regardless of whether the grass is subalter or a very lush plush grass or whatever you're having to deal with. It's pretty simple. And it's just a bit of a 3-step process where you slot in the battery, put your thumb on the safety switch, and squeeze the trigger. Oh, and furthermore to that, you probably have to make sure that you actually have some replacement blades to stand by in case you actually use up the blade that's on the edge of the edger. So we're swapping out an old blade and putting on a new blade. It is a pretty common sense process here. You can sort of just see how it slots on like so. And now that gets us onto the Ozito Leaf Blower. Now there are a couple of versions of this, and I have the larger one that is actually 36 volt rather than 18 volt. And this was a little bit overkill, but I had to actually buy it for a previous job where I needed it for its vacuum function. And for this, I can honestly say it's basically you get what you pay for there. It is pretty good. If you're the type of person that likes to blow all the grass off the concrete and back onto the lawn after you finish mowing, well then yes, this will do the job and it'll be a fraction of the cost. And the single battery version will do this as well, and just obviously the 36 volt version will just do it a little bit quicker for you. But one thing you should warn about with the 36 volt version of the leaf blower though, is that it does go through the batteries very quickly. And so when I was talking before about having a 3 battery rotational system before taking care of your lawn, if you're integrating a leaf blower into the system as well, you may just need a few extra batteries just to put into that rotational system just to make sure that you never actually run out. Instead of having 3 batteries to be able to run indefinitely, you probably need about 4. And also bear in mind as well, to operate the leaf blower, you need 2 batteries that are of equal amp hours and equal charge for it to operate properly. So anyway, on to my closing remarks. Is it worth switching over to an electric lawn care setup, and in this particular case, an Ozito electric lawn care setup? Well, the short answer from my opinion is yes. And that is because the electric lawn care debate is very much different from the electric car debate. I mean, for the electric car debate, there is legitimate arguments on both sides on whether there isn't enough charging infrastructure to keep the cars going, and so therefore range anxiety is a very big issue, and then there's some great arguments for the electric car side as well. And so with the electric car debate, it is a bit of a yin and yang, and is it worth it? But for the debate about electric lawn care versus petrol lawn care, to me, it's not even a debate. I mean, just electric wins in every way possible. It is quieter, it is simpler, it's easier to handle, it's easier to operate. You're never going to get caught out with bad fuel. And in my personal opinion, I think there's very few suburban households where switching to electric isn't a great idea. I mean, if you're at the size where you need a ride-on mower, well then yeah, that's still a bit of a debate. Anyway, I hope you found this review useful, and if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts about all of this, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.